Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we've got best bets in a one-game slate here that we've got in the NBA tonight, Nate, just looking at the Mavs and the Jazz playing each other. So we've got best bets in here. Also have some futures looks at a pretty good point in the season, I would say, to reevaluate some of these futures markets that we have available to us. So we're throwing you a couple of those as well here today, just to take advantage of that one-game slate. Definitely want to make sure to continue to follow along. Also doing the same thing today with the Play of Props video, which we're bringing both of those to you each and every weekday now moving forward. So continue to follow along with us. Nate, let's go ahead and get right into your first best bet for this Jazz-Mavs game.
Yeah, I'll just take the points with the Mavs, lay the points, -9. I was thinking about a few different angles, and I'll throw out a lean there if you're not quite comfortable. Is kind of an alt -4.5 for the Mavs with the under 231. I know that's counterintuitive when we're in Utah. And the reason I got scared off that is because Walker Kessler will not play, and that Jazz defense is going to be atrocious without Kessler. I don't think the Jazz can score very much on this Mavericks team, though. So, I mean, why not just take the double-digit spread in that case? Like the Jazz, 60-46 in paint points last time out, and that was with Walker Kessler out there, so they lose the paint points battle. Luka with a complete outlier game, 5 for 22, 1 for 9 from 3. That ain't happening with the Mavericks on a 3-game losing streak. I would definitely target Luka stuff here. I think, it doesn't matter if it's not a team that like really gets his blood boiling. Like it's just going to be fun for them to go out there and torch this team after they've lost to 3 contenders in the last few. The pace is also down, makes me lean under. Only 91.5 pace for the Jazz in their return home against the Suns, who had some great jump shooting in that game. But yeah, like I said, just putrid without Walker Kessler. 124 defensive rating when they had their no rim protector. And if you remove like the April games where nobody's playing anybody, 132 defensive rating, allowed at least 115 in 11 straight games. Didn't matter who they're playing. The Blazers are in there. The Wizards are in there. And they're getting 115 on this defense. As we know, the Jazz are not really trying this season. They didn't even really bring it for the NBA Cup game. Now there's a little bit of a letdown that this is not an in-season tournament type thing. The Mavs now with Lively back in there after he missed a couple games, like they got their full squad. They have a great defense when they have those centers alternating. And 64% against the spread after a loss since last year, 80% as a road favorite. So even though it's kind of a big number, they've been covering that.
Yeah, I mean, no qualms with it. I think this has got to be a get-right spot for them. I think you're going to have 2 opposing forces. One team that really needs to pull out a victory to save its season and defending Western Conference championship season. And then you've got a Jazz team, like you said, that just doesn't seem like it's trying very hard. So nothing to add too much, but the points are so funny because of the way the Jazz are playing this year compared to last year, which is wild in terms of the away-home splits. But let me go to an SGP to kick us off here for my bet, Nate, with Luka and Clay. Let me take Luka 8 assists, Clay 3 threes, and I'll just throw the money line in there, juice it up another 20 cents or so, and that gets you about plus 150, 148 on DraftKings. That's definitely a better place to get it, by the way. It was like 30 cents cheaper on most other books for that same parlay. So shop your parlays just like you shop your regular bets. For this one, it's I know that Luka can do whatever he wants. I'm not going to fade his points by any stretch of the imagination. I just love the assists in a situation where I know he's going to be smiling a lot and talking to the refs and not even complaining to the refs, just trying to joke around and have a good time and be buddy and kind of take it not that seriously, to be honest. I don't think he needs to take it that seriously to get his points. But I know that also leads to a lot of assists. And that's been a bit of a trend for Luka this season. If you look at the game where he has slightly higher assist totals, obviously the 2 that stick out to me are the Pacers and the Bulls, both playing slightly faster, neither playing very good defense at all. And that leading to Luka just sort of taking advantage of guys leaking out. I think Kyrie's points are also really good tonight, to be honest. I think getting out into transition is going to be a big part of that. But either way, Luka in the half court is just probably, to me, is going to be a lot of, I'll find whoever I want to find, and a lot of that is going to be Klay Thompson. So that leads me to the threes. But looking at the stuff for Luka real quick, I mean, in his last 6 versus Utah, he's only gone over his points prop once, 35 minutes per game, 27.7 and 10.8 assists with 18.5 potential assists. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, is 18.5 potential assists. To get 10 for a dude who's done this with much fewer potential assists feels right to me. And you look at the even last year, teams under 500, he had 1.2 more assists per game than when they placed teams over 500. So there's correlation there to his lack of effort. I think the rebounds actually correlate to almost a lack of effort, because he's standing on the baseline, not playing too much defense, but he's happy to go gobble up those little simple rebounds that fall to his side of the basket on the baseline. So I'm not opposed to rebounds, but the Jazz much worse, and the Mavs actually much worse at rebounding than they are diming up, and the Jazz much worse at limiting rebounds than they are, limiting assists than they are limiting rebounds. So they're better defense against the boards than they are limiting assists to players like Luka, who fifth most assists in the league that they give up, all that. So really happy to go with that. And if you want to know why Clay 3 threes, because he's going to shoot another 9 to 10, and I like him to continue to be able to make 35% of them.
Yeah, it's a good look. I mean, I was thinking about how to SGP this with Luka, because I do expect him to bounce back. I mean, kind of lead them to a win, but yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean he's got to get 30 against this team. And with Kessler out, like, he should be able to walk into the lane and draw help all day. So, I mean, kicking it out against a very poor 3-point defense. So some of these could be correlated, right? Luka kicking to Clay for 3, and that gets you well on your way. Of course, no problem with the Mavs money line. So yeah, let's look ahead here with only one game on the slate. Best futures bet I like in terms of just playoff performance is the Thunder to go ahead and make the finals. Win the Western Conference is plus 240 right now. Maybe you can get this better after a loss, because they do play the Mavs and they've got some tough games coming up, and they might struggle a little bit right now with Chet out. And obviously Hartenstein not available yet, but I think when those guys get back, like, this defense will just form like Voltron, right? I mean, we saw it for a minute with just Chet, and it was like the best defense of the modern era through 8 games. So I'm not worried about the Joker, the fact that he beat them in one game. I think Denver is way too thin. I'm not particularly worried about Dallas, that losing in 6 to Dallas last year is kind of a warm up for them. I'm not really worried about any individual matchup. Like, the Warriors are old, the Lakers are old. It's their time. I think they got their lumps last year, and they have a very unflappable superstar. They have a great coach. They have depth, and the best defense I think we'll have in the Western Conference. So I think they get it done in April, May. But you can also look at them to beat the Suns tomorrow night at -7, which, if you're looking at something for tomorrow ahead of time here, I don't know if this line will move much, but I think this is a bad matchup for the Suns. I mean, for Booker and Beal without Durant to help them out, like, they've got to go up against these guards now. This very switchable small lineup they're running. That's a problem for the Suns, and Nurkic on the other side. And you could counter, like, oh, but didn't Nurkic get 31 rebounds against them last year? He did, and they lost by 8. And then they lost by 25. And Nurkic only played 23 minutes when they played each other 2 nights later. So obviously the Thunder were able to exploit him more than his rebounds were able to exploit them. The Suns had Kevin Durant in all 3 meetings against the Thunder last year, still lost all by at least 8 points. So I think it's a good look. And I mean, this might be a pick tomorrow, so I won't get into it. But the Magic money line plus 130 against the Sixers, and thank you. Please play Joel Embiid, because Joel Embiid is a net negative right now. I don't expect him to be any better than he was on Tuesday. He is a offensive rebound machine for the other team. He cannot move. So we will fade him, and we will take the Magic at home against a really bad Sixers team that has a liability at center.
You didn't even mention the main reason to take the Magic against Joel Embiid. Can I interest you in some Goga Batadze? You want to talk about a good offensive rebounder? It's so funny because Goga Batadze to Americans is a hilarious name. So he comes into the league and we're all just like, who's Goga? He's a very good center, and he should have been playing more minutes for this Magic team anyway. So I like that look there. And I like everything else you're saying about the futures plays here too. Like, this is just as much about, like, okay, the Thunder probably even better than we thought they were at perimeter defense, but this is just as much about, are the Nuggets as good as we thought they were? I mean, they're going to need guys like Peyton Watson and Julian Strother to play pretty big roles in the team this season, and they might need to reduce the Russ Westbrook role a little bit. So they got plenty of stuff to figure out in Denver. Golden State is a team that looks good, but we just saw Minnesota lose twice to Portland. I don't think Golden State can hang with OKC at the end of the day. I know they just beat them, but we're going to get Chet and we're going to get Isaiah Hartenstein back, and then the centers that have been dominating the Warriors it's going to prevail for the Thunder big men as well. Once they actually have a center, because they got three of them, they're just all hurt, and they're going to come back, and this is just going to be world beaters. To your point, it's just going to form like Voltron. It's going to be disgusting. I honestly can't wait. Let me go to Philly, where last night was bittersweet as they did not pull out the victory in that game. I actually already forgot who they played, but they lost. You had Jared McCain coming out and doing big things, scoring 35 in that game last night. So I'm going to continue to buy into Jared McCain because there's a couple things going on here. So rookie of the year for him is plus 350. I understand that Tyrese Maxey is out, and that is a big reason for why this man has been so good in the last 4 or 5 games. If you look at the last 4 since Maxey went down, 25.5 points per game in 32.5 minutes. He's at a 4-to-2 assist to turnover ratio. I expect those assists to go up more without Maxey again. And then 2 boards, but 61% true shooting with really nice splits, almost 50, 40, 90, Nate, 45, 42, 100 from the free throw line, going 15 for 15 in the last 4 games from the free throw line. This kid's fearless. I think he's obviously surprising a lot of people with his ability to play. If you watched him last year, you saw the athleticism, you saw the raw talent, and he's starting to put that together. This is also just about one of the worst draft classes that we've seen in a while. And it sucks that it's sandwiched between 2 incredible draft classes, because last year and this year, there's probably like 12 combined dudes that would go first overall over Risa Shea. No offense to Risa Shea. It's just he's not a number 1 overall pick, and that's not going to be the trajectory of his career, most likely. So Risa Shea, love him. Really surprisingly good rebounder, and obviously good catch and shoot guy as well for this Hawks team. Really nice addition to it, but there's just so many dudes that do what he does on their team, right? Like I've heard the announcer for the Hawks mix up Jalen Johnson and Risa Shea like 10 different times this season. You got number 1 versus number 10. You got 2 dudes of the same build who are doing very similar things with similar athleticism. So you've got him. Dyson Daniels ain't far off in terms of his body type and his ability to run to the rim. Actually, you have the point guard ability for him. So it's just too much duplicity, right? And you've also got DeAndre Hunter when he's actually healthy that would come out there. Bogey hasn't even played yet as another catch and shoot guy. So we'll see how much usage he gets, how much he's able to shine. But I think even when Embiid and Maxey are in there with McCain, I think you just bump him up to third option. I mean, Tsunami Papi is not someone who has shown the consistency. Caleb Martin is not someone who's even looking for his shot most of the time, unless he has to. See last year and the year before with Miami when he'd randomly just turn it off. So there's plenty going on in Philly that allows you to go, why not give McCain the legit chance to be a part of this offense alongside these guys? I think the minutes stay up around 25 to 30. Well, let's say 25, 27 when Maxey's back, and we'll see if he can even bump those up with how important he is to this offense. And the only other guy I would say is, I hate to say it this way, but right now it's Alexander Sarri, not really Alexander Sarr. And that's not entirely his fault. They're building up a core with young guys, but Alexander Sarr playing alongside Keyshawn George, playing alongside Jordan Poole, et cetera. It ain't going to do it for him. I don't think he's going to get the looks, and he doesn't have the 3-point shot right now. He's shooting 16% from deep. So there's nobody else I care about. I'm going to go with McCain in this one.
Yeah, I think it'd be Bub Carrington for the Wizards over Sarr at this point.
Sure.
But I don't know if voters, really want somebody on a truly terrible team like the Wizards. The Sixers might be bad though. Like this might go south. Like we'll see if Embiid can get back to where he was. I don't want to completely overreact to one game. I know I'm fading him for now, but they need a lot of help. You said third option though. You left out Paul George when they get everybody.
Oh, right. They have Paul George on their team.
Yes, they do have Paul George. Also hasn't really hit his stride yet this season. But yeah, I love McCain. The last 2 games, I haven't been able to give him out on the show because they wouldn't put his props up, and he's flown over the points prop. Yeah. So look to that again because, I don't think Embiid's going to be doing that much against Orlando, but him being out there helps open things up for this young man. It's for him right now. I think it's McCain or maybe Steph Castle. If you want like a winning 2-way player, he's kind of helped the Spurs look competitive recently. But there's a lot of ways that the Sixers can open the door. Yeah, with their tenuous health, open the door for him to have huge usage the rest of the way.
especially in the backup unit. To your point, like Paul George comes back, it's George, Maxey, Embiid. But I think two things: one, McCain will get some of those minutes in crunch time. He'll get some, end of the third quarter and fourth quarter minutes alongside them. Plus, he'll be the main option on that backup unit. So that's a better way to look at it. The reason I'm not with Castle anymore, I watched that game last night with the Wizards, and Devin Vassell doesn't seem very interested in passing. So he's been out, and he and Sohan have been out, and that has led Castle into the starting lineup into 28 to 30 minutes. That's going to go right back down as soon as Castle and Sohan are healthy. It's really about, I think McCain can sort of withstand anybody coming back for the hurt 76ers and still be an important part in terms of an asset they don't have that type of right now. So that's all the time we have for you, though, in Best Bets. Going to keep going along here with these player props in a separate episode. Also got some futures looks in there for you, so make sure to subscribe to that page and continue to follow along. Until we see you next, happy betting.